After many days lost in the dark rain, could Tieu truly find Truong, the man she once believed was her entire world? She's walked through muddy paths, crossed nights so cold they cut through her heart just to chase a fragile hope that he's still out there waiting for her. But if they meet again, will everything still be the same? Can love be strong enough to heal the wounds, the misunderstandings, and the words left unspoken? Or will it all just be an unfinished dream? One that fades when she wakes, leaving behind only tears and an empty space in her heart. Will there be a wedding filled with happiness, where Truong takes Tieunu's hand and walks with her beneath flowers and candlelight? Or will fate once again pull them apart, ending this love story in silent pain? And what about you? Do you believe that true love can overcome destiny itself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next episodes, where every moment is a heartbeat in the stormy and fateful journey between Truong and lytieunu. As the first rays of morning sunlight filtered through the treetops, spilling onto the courtyard, still damp with dew, Tieu sat quietly on the porch. Everything around her was still, only the soft whisper of the wind, weaving through the bamboo grove, and the heavy footsteps of time echoing inside her heart. Old memories flooded back like a faded film reel. Images of Truong and Tieu when they were still together. Mornings welcoming the sun, side by side, rainy afternoons sheltered beneath a small roof, and the moments when their hands met in silence, smiles saying what words never could. Now, all of it was nothing more than fragments in her mind, beautiful yet painfully distant. She didn't know how long she had been sitting there, until the shrill ring of her phone shattered the quiet. An unknown number. Her hand trembled as she picked up the call. A strange intuition told her that something awaited on the other end. Then came the unfamiliar voice telling her that someone had just seen a man who looked exactly like the one on the flyers she had posted everywhere. The world seemed to freeze. Her heart pounded violently in her chest. Joy burst forth, but at the same time, an inexplicable fear crept in. She didn't know whether this was the miracle she had been praying for, or just another cruel joke of fate reopening the wounds she had tried so hard to heal. Her eyes drifted toward the old flyers on the wall, where Truong's face smiled back at her, that gentle smile, those warm eyes. It was as if he was looking at her, calling her forward. She took a deep breath, gripping her phone tightly. No more hesitation. Tieu stood up. Something inside her awakened after days of exhaustion. Throwing on her thin coat, she began to walk faster and faster until she broke into a run toward the gate. The path ahead shimmered in the early light. Every bush, every beam of sunlight, every trace of mist seemed to witness the beginning of a new journey. On her shoulders, hope and fear intertwined, beating together in a rhythm both trembling and strong. As she moved forward, each passing scene brought back the past, the field where they once laughed together, the small slope where Truong used to wait for her after work. Now, they were only landmarks of longing, making her heart tighten with every step. She wondered if it really was Truong, would he still remember her? And if it wasn't, did she have the strength to face disappointment once more? But one thing was certain, tieu couldn't turn back. She had to go whether what awaited her was truth or illusion. The car sped down the muddy road, still wet after the rain. The scent of earth and grass mixed in the wind, brushing against her cheeks, carrying her unending longing. The sun had risen higher now, its light spreading across tieu's face, weary but resolute. Somewhere ahead, between memory and reality, perhaps Truong was there, or maybe just his shadow waiting. The car stopped at a narrow road leading into a secluded suburban area. The air carried a strange scent, the smell of damp earth, cold wind, and a kind of waiting that had no name. Tieu stepped out. Her legs trembled, not only because the morning mist seeped through her thin clothes, but because her heart was pounding so hard she could almost hear its rhythm echoing in the silence. Before her lay a winding dirt path, dotted with a few old houses covered in moss. From afar came the sound of barking dogs, the wind whistling against tin roofs, all reminding her of the lonely days she spent searching for Truong in vain. Each step forward, each breath she took seemed to pull her closer to a truth she both longed for and feared. She stopped in front of a small wooden house, its door slightly ajar. A neighbor standing by the road pointed and said that a man had been staying there for several days, quiet, withdrawn, and seemingly unsure of who he really was. Those words sent a chill down her spine. Didn't remember who he was. Her heart tightened. Part of her wanted to run to him, to throw her arms around him, to ask why he had left. But another part hesitated. What if it wasn't Truong? What if it was just a face that looked like his? A mirage born from fragile hope. She took a cautious step toward the door. Sunlight streamed through the gap, casting soft light on the dusty furniture inside. The silence was eerie, broken only by the faint rustle of the curtains swaying in the wind. And then a shadow moved. A man sat with his back to her thin frail, his shoulders trembling slightly as if he were lost in distant memories. At that moment, tieu's breath caught in her throat. She stood still, unable to call his name. Her emotions swelled, but reason held her back. She was terrified that a single word might shatter this fragile dream, and that when he turned around, it wouldn't be him. She took another step. The creak of the wooden floor made the man slowly turn his head. Light fell across his face, so familiar it hurt. It was Truong's, but his eyes were empty, distant. The warmth that once lived there was gone. The gentle smile she remembered nowhere to be found. His gaze was that of someone lost between two worlds where memory and reality no longer met. Tieu's heart broke into pieces. Joy and sorrow fused into an emotion beyond words. He was alive, but was he still the Truong she had loved? The wind grew stronger, whipping her hair across her face, scattering the slips of paper with the address she had written down. She bent to pick them up, and when she lifted her head, he was already outside, standing under the sunlight, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. Tieu watched him in silence, unable to move closer. She feared that one more step would force her to face the truth that the man she had searched for all those months was now just the shadow of a memory. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She smiled through the pain. At least she had found him, even if he no longer remembered who she was. And somewhere deep within her heart, she still believed. As time passed, the small house in the quiet countryside slowly became a peaceful haven for two lost souls. After that day, they reunited. Tieu stayed by Truong's side, silently caring for him meal by meal, sleep by sleep, memory by memory. Every morning she would tell him stories of the days when they were happy, about their trip through the wildflower fields, about the rainy afternoons spent under a small roof, about the smile he once gave her while watching the sunset. At first, Truong remained silent, but then his eyes began to change. Day by day, that gaze grew warmer, more familiar, like a fragile seed of memory sprouting in the barren soil of forgetfulness. Then one afternoon, as the golden sunlight filled the courtyard, Truong placed a bouquet of wildflowers on the table and looked at her quietly. He said nothing, just smiled. In that moment, Tieu understood. He remembered. Not everything, but enough to know that she was the one his heart had once belonged to. And so, the wedding took place. Not grand, not lavish, only a courtyard full of flowers, a small lantern glowing in the sunset, and a few people who truly wished them happiness. Tieu wore a simple white dress, walking down a path scattered with petals, the golden light of dusk stretching out like a silken ribbon before her. Truong stood, waiting, his eyes still carrying a trace of uncertainty. But within them shone a quiet sincerity, a love that had transcended even memory. As she drew near, the breeze gently stirred the flowers above, letting a few petals fall softly onto her shoulders. She lifted her gaze and smiled that same smile he had once loved, once etched deep in his heart. In that moment, there was no need for vows, no need for ceremony, only two pairs of eyes meeting enough to erase all the lost days that had separated them in this world. Music drifted through the air, mingling with the wind. Everyone fell silent, leaving only the two of them, standing in the sunset like two fragments of the same soul, finally finding each other after countless storms. It was more than a wedding. It was the return of faith, the miracle of love, a gentle ending to the pain that once seemed endless. And in the last light of day, Truong softly took Tieu's hand. His eyes, whispering the words his heart had always longed to say, thank you for never giving up on us.
đang ở đây khắc mà suy được ra được tự nếu chúng ập vào mẹ không có đủ sức để bảo vệ con của mình thì không vô kia nó có thể ngăn cản những cái ảnh hưởng của anh rồi để giúp cô qua cơn nguy hiểm đang cận kề khán giả vì sao nếu là bạn sẽ để cho những người tiếp tục được sự thật của người hay và những chủ đề phản ứng rõ thân và đúng không và nó đâm ra những cái tiếp xúc dịp có muộn và nói chuyện cả hai càng nhìn dù xuất hiện sự phát hiện khác nhau họ lại có chung một điểm kỳ lạ đều từng trải qua sự phản bội sự mất mát và những ngày tháng phải tự chống chọi với thế giới khắc nghiệt ở kia cảm giác sau lúc mới gặp lại biến mất hay đó là một sợi dây buồn một sự đồng cảm gắn kết hai con người lại với nhau cuối cùng tự nào đặt tay lên vai với nói bằng giọng kiên định như lời hát